The streets were alive with the usual bustle, cars rushing past, people lost in their own worlds, and the faint hum of conversations filling the air. Among the chaos, a small art stall stood quietly on the sidewalk, run by a young girl with a bright yet fragile smile. Her name was Lily. She was only 12, but life had already tested her in ways most could never imagine. Diagnosed with cancer, she had spent more time in hospital rooms than playgrounds, more time fighting for her life than simply living it. But despite everything, she had something that gave her strength: her art. Lily had always loved painting. It was her escape, her way of expressing feelings words couldn't. Ever since she was little, she had dreamed of filling the world with colors, of creating beauty even when life felt dark. But now, art wasn't just a passion, it was her only hope. Her family had exhausted their savings on medical treatments, and the bills kept piling up. With no other option, Lily set up a small stall on a busy street, selling her artwork in the hopes of raising money for her chemotherapy. Day after day, she sat there, her delicate hands brushing strokes of color onto canvases, her heart quietly hoping that someone, anyone, would stop and buy a piece. Some people walked by without a second glance, others paused to admire her work but moved on. She didn't complain. She understood that life was busy, that people had their own struggles. Still, she held on to hope. And then, something unexpected happened. A tall figure stopped in front of her stall, his sharp eyes scanning the paintings. He seemed familiar, but Lily didn't recognize him right away. The man picked up a painting, studying it with quiet admiration. Then, he looked at Lily and asked softly, "Did you make this?" She nodded, not realizing at first who she was speaking to. But as the man pulled off his sunglasses, her heart nearly stopped. Standing right there, in front of her tiny stall, was Clint Eastwood. The world around them seemed to slow down. People nearby began whispering, realizing who he was. But Clint wasn't there to draw attention to himself. His focus was on Lily, on the artwork in front of him, and on the story he was about to uncover, one that would change everything. Lily's fingers trembled slightly as she clutched the edges of her canvas, still trying to process what was happening. She never imagined that someone as famous as Clint Eastwood would stop by her little stall, let alone take an interest in her paintings. But she wasn't the kind of girl to get starstruck easily. Life had taught her to focus on what truly mattered. Ever since she was a little girl, Lily had been drawn to colors. While other kids played outside, she would sit by the window with her sketchbook, bringing her imagination to life with every stroke of her brush. Her parents always encouraged her talent, proudly hanging her paintings on the walls of their small apartment. But everything changed the day they heard the word cancer. She was only 10 when she was diagnosed. At first, her parents reassured her it would be okay, that the doctors would help her get better. But as the months passed, treatments became more intense, and their savings began to disappear. Lily's father worked as a mechanic, fixing cars from morning until night. But no matter how many hours he put in, it was never enough. Her mother had left her job to take care of her, driving her to the hospital, staying with her during chemo sessions, holding her hand through the pain. The medical bills kept piling up, and soon, even affording the basics became a struggle. There were days when they had to choose between paying for treatment or keeping the lights on at home. They never said it out loud, but Lily could see the worry in their eyes, the exhaustion on their faces. That was when she made a decision. If her parents were doing everything they could to help her, then she would do the same. She knew she couldn't work a regular job, but she had something valuable: her paintings. So, with a small easel and a collection of her best work, she set up a tiny stall on the sidewalk, hoping that people would see not just the colors on the canvas, but the heart behind them. No matter how sick she felt, she forced herself to paint. Some days, the exhaustion was unbearable, but she pushed through, knowing that every painting sold brought her one step closer to another round of treatment. She sat outside in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, refusing to give up. Some people stopped to admire her work, others simply walked past. There were moments when she felt invisible, like the world was too busy to notice a little girl trying to survive. But still, she kept going. And now, standing in front of her, holding one of her paintings in his hands, was Clint Eastwood. His eyes weren't just looking at the art, he was seeing her, really seeing her. And in that moment, Lily had no idea that this one encounter was about to change her life in a way she never expected. Clint Eastwood turned the painting in his hands, studying every detail. His expression was unreadable, but there was something in his eyes, a quiet intensity, as if he could feel the emotions woven into every brushstroke. Lily watched him carefully, unsure of what to say. She had met plenty of customers before, but none like him. "This is beautiful," he finally said, his voice deep and steady. You painted this? Lily nodded, swallowing the nervous lump in her throat. Yes, sir. I paint all of them. Clint ran his fingers lightly over the edge of the canvas, then looked down at her. How old are you? 12, she answered. He raised an eyebrow. And you're out here selling your paintings all by yourself? Lily hesitated for a moment. She never liked telling people about her situation. It made her feel exposed, like a story in a book that everyone could read. But there was something about the way he asked, not out of pity, but genuine curiosity, that made her speak. I have cancer, she said simply. I'm trying to help my parents pay for my treatment. For a moment, Clint didn't say anything. He just held her gaze, his sharp eyes scanning her face as if he were piecing together a puzzle. Then, slowly, he exhaled. That's a tough thing for a kid to go through, he said quietly. Lily gave a small shrug. I don't have a choice. Clint nodded, as if he understood more than she expected. He looked down at the painting again, then glanced at the other pieces arranged neatly on the table. They were all different, some filled with bright, hopeful colors, others darker, more somber. Each one told a story, a reflection of the emotions she carried inside her. You've got real talent, he said. Not just skill, but heart. That's rare. Lily felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. Thank you. Clint was silent for a moment, then reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Lily expected him to hand her money for the painting he was holding, but instead, he did something that made her breath catch. He took out a stack of bills, more money than she had ever seen at once, and placed it on the table. Her eyes widened. Mister, that's too much. It's not for just one painting, he interrupted. It's for all of them. Lily's heart pounded. All of them? Clint nodded. Every single one. And if you've got more at home, I want those too. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them back. She had spent so many days worrying, wondering if she would be able to afford her next round of treatment. And now, in the span of a few minutes, everything had changed. But Clint wasn't done. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice so only she could hear. I know what it's like to struggle, he said. And I know what it's like to fight for something you believe in. You're not just selling paintings, kid. You're fighting for your life. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Lily swallowed hard, unable to find the right words. All she could do was nod. Clint picked up one of the paintings and tucked it under his arm, then gave her one last look. Keep painting, he said. No matter what happens, don't stop. With that, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. But Lily remained frozen, staring at the pile of money on the table, at the empty space where her paintings had been. For the first time in a long time, she felt something she had almost forgotten, hope. And deep down, she knew that this was only the beginning. Lily sat there in stunned silence, staring at the empty spot where her paintings had been and the stack of money Clint Eastwood had left behind. It felt unreal, like a dream she might wake up from at any moment. People around her had noticed the encounter, whispering among themselves, but she was too overwhelmed to process any of it. She had come out that morning, hoping to sell at least one or two paintings. Instead, she had just sold every single one, to Clint Eastwood, of all people. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. The next day, Lily woke up to her mother calling her name in a voice filled with excitement. Lily, you have to see this. She rushed to the living room, where the TV was on. Her heart nearly stopped when she saw Clint Eastwood's face on the screen. A reporter was talking about how he had discovered a young artist on the street, a girl fighting cancer, selling her paintings to afford treatment. Lily's breath caught in her throat. He had told the world about her. But it didn't stop there. Clint had posted about her on his social media, sharing pictures of her artwork and telling her story to his millions of followers. He called her a true fighter, an artist with a heart bigger than her canvas. The post went viral within hours. People from all over the world were leaving comments, asking how they could help. Strangers were sharing their own stories of struggle and resilience, offering words of encouragement and support. And then, something even more unbelievable happened. Lily's small art stall had always been quiet, often overlooked by the busy crowds. But that morning, as she hesitantly set up her table again, a car pulled up beside her. A well-dressed man stepped out, holding a business card. He introduced himself as the director of a prestigious art gallery. We saw your story, Lily, he said with a warm smile. And we'd like to feature your work in our next exhibition. Lily blinked in disbelief. My work? In a gallery? The man nodded. People need to see your paintings. Your story is inspiring, but your art speaks for itself. We want to help you share it with the world. Her mother, standing beside her, covered her mouth in shock. Tears welled up in her father's eyes. This was beyond anything they had ever imagined. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. The art gallery arranged a special exhibition in Lily's honor, displaying her paintings in a grand hall where collectors, critics, and art lovers gathered. People weren't just coming to see her work, they were coming to support her, to be a part of something bigger. Each painting sold for far more than she had ever dreamed of asking. Some were bought by celebrities, others by collectors who wanted to own a piece of her incredible journey. Lily stood in the middle of it all, feeling like she had stepped into another world. Just weeks ago, she had been sitting on a cold sidewalk, hoping someone would notice her. Now, people were applauding her strength, her talent, her resilience. And none of it would have happened if one man hadn't taken the time to stop, to see her, to believe in her. Clint Eastwood attended the exhibition himself, standing by her side as she greeted the people who had come to admire her work. He leaned down and whispered, "Told you not to stop painting." Lily smiled, holding back tears. She knew now that she never would. Lily could hardly believe how much her life had changed in such a short time. Just weeks ago, she had been struggling to sell her paintings on the street, hoping to earn enough to afford another round of treatment. Now, not only had her medical expenses been completely covered by the overwhelming generosity of people from all over the world, but she had also become a recognized artist. Donations poured in from strangers who had been moved by her story, some sending money, others buying her paintings at prices she never could have imagined. Art lovers, celebrities, and collectors reached out, not just to purchase her work, but to encourage her to keep creating. What once felt like an impossible dream had suddenly become her reality. She no longer had to worry about whether she would be able to continue her treatment. Now, she could focus on something she had always loved, painting. But beyond the financial help, something even more beautiful happened. People began sharing their own struggles with her, stories of battles they had fought, dreams they had almost given up on, and the moments of kindness that had changed their lives. Lily realized that her journey was no longer just about her. It had become a symbol of hope for so many others. She continued painting, but now, every brushstroke carried a deeper meaning. Her work was no longer just about expressing herself. It was about inspiring others. Her paintings were displayed in galleries, featured in magazines, and even used to raise money for children battling illnesses just like her. And with every painting sold, she felt like she was giving back a piece of the kindness that had been shown to her. One evening, as she sat in her small art studio, she received a message from Clint Eastwood. It was simple, just a few words, but they meant everything to her. "Proud of you, kid. Never stop." Lily smiled, looking at the canvas in front of her. She thought about everything that had led her here, the pain, the struggle, the long days of uncertainty. But most of all, she thought about that one moment when a stranger had stopped, not just to buy a painting, but to truly see her. A moment of kindness that had changed everything. Life had given her challenges, but it had also given her incredible blessings. And now, she knew one thing for sure: she would never stop painting, never stop believing, and never stop spreading the hope that had once been given to her. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person to change a life. And when kindness is shared, it has the power to go further than anyone could ever imagine. Her story is a reminder that hope can come from the most unexpected places, and sometimes, all it takes is one person to believe in you. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. And of course, subscribe for more incredible stories like this. See you in the next one.